Welcome to another lesson of the Excel for Absolute Beginners course. In this lesson, we'll be exploring the Excel interface. Just as you were introduced to Excel in the previous lesson, there were some terminologies that were used in there, and you need to appreciate it. So going forward, anytime that I use it, you would know exactly what we are talking about. Two of these terms are workbook and worksheet. When you start Excel, what you're going to work in is called a workbook. So basically you start working in the workbook, and the idea of a book is made up of several sheets. Basically we have an Excel workbook that contains a number of sheets. So you are always going to start with a single sheet, and as and when you need more sheets, you are going to add to that, and you would understand that soon. I'll show you practically what we mean. So this is the interface for Excel. I want to show you right in this PowerPoint before we open Excel itself, and I'll show it to you. So starting at the very top, the top left, we have some few tools up here, and they are grouped together called the quick access toolbar. And basically this quick access toolbar gives us access to tools that we frequently use, so that we don't have to go through all these plenty tools to look for them. So if there are any set of tools that you are going to be frequently using, you can easily add them to your quick access toolbar, and they will be pinned up here for ease of use. The next one in the middle is the title bar. With the title bar, it just indicates the name of the file you are working in. So the workbook that you are working on, the name will appear right here at where you can find the title bar now. When you create a new workbook all the time, the book by default is called book 1. If you have already created book 1 and you create another book, it's going to be called book 2, and so on. The next thing to know is the ribbon. So all these things up here, so this is ribbon, is covering everything in here. That is the ribbon, and everything inside the ribbon has been grouped into 3 things. You have 3 major parts. We have what we call the tabs. So the tabs refer to groups of commands that perform similar or that have similar functions. Okay, so we have the home tab, we have the insert tab, we have page layout, formulas, data, review, view, and the likes. So those are tabs. Then when you open each tab, there are group of commands. So basically every item that you see here, like wrap test, merge, and center, these are called commands, and these ones are also grouped into command groups. So this particular one you are seeing here, alignment, meaning this is the alignment group. So if I say go to alignments group, then you know exactly where to go to. If I say go to the fonts group, then you know exactly where to go to, because this is the fonts group. Then the individual ones that you see are called commands. So the whole thing is called a ribbon. The ribbon is divided into tabs. Then under each tab we may have groups. Then within the group we have commands. The next thing to look at is cell identity. We'll talk more about what a cell identity is, but basically this tells us which cell we are currently in, or it gives you an idea of the cell that you are working in. And when we say cell, we will understand what it is pretty soon. This box over here is known as the formula bar, and the formula bar is where your formulas are going to appear. But anytime you are typing anything into any cell at all, it will equally show up in the formula bar. Then there is what we refer to as the dialog box launcher. So within the groups of commands on the ribbon, there is this icon, small icon down here, that you can open. You can click on to launch a dialog box, and the dialog box contains several other options that will help you take or use particular commands that are not easily accessible right on the ribbon. So that is the dialog box launcher. Then when you come to this space that you see in the form of tables, as I made reference to earlier in the last lesson, this is made up of what we call columns and rows. Columns are the ones that are going vertically, whilst rows are going horizontally. So as you can see, this is a column. The columns are labeled with alphabet A, B, C, D, and the likes, whilst the rows are numbered 1, 2, 3, and the likes. So these columns and rows makes up what the sheet area. The sheet area is exactly where we are able to work with the data. If it is for storing, it's for analysis, everything, you are going to put your data within the sheet area, and the sheet area is made up of columns and rows. Any place where a column and a row intersect, that is called a cell. So if you remember, I said cell identity, meaning any cell that you select would be, the identity will be shown here, and the identity of a cell, or what we may refer to it as reference of the cell, is given by the column name and the row number. So since columns are in alphabetical order, we can have cell A1, meaning column A and row 1. Okay, if I say cell J2, then you know that you are in column J and row 2. Down here we have the status bar. The status bar gives us some information about the current sheet that we are working with, and you can equally set the status bar to show things that you want. It gives us a number of things, maybe the number of pages, the number of words, the number of characters. You can get all those from the status bar. Then down here too, we have what we call the view buttons. The view buttons allow us to see our spreadsheet in various views, which we will demonstrate soon. The zoom controls allow us to zoom in and out of the spreadsheet, so that if you want to visualize exactly what's happening and they are too small for your liking, you can zoom into it, and if you want to also decrease it, you can zoom out of it. We have sliders here to help us move to the right or to the bottom anytime we want. In fact, in any direction, either to the top, to the bottom, to the left, or to the right. These sliders will help us move around. Okay, so quickly let me go through the rest of the slides, then I'll show you practically. So we talked about the title bar, where we say you have your title. So this is book 1 Excel. So whatever name you give your sheet, that would be shown on the title bar. You have the quick access toolbar, where you pin tools that you frequently use. So these are the quick access tools that currently were on the interface. We have the ribbon, which is made up of tabs, groups, and commands. So these individual things, cut, copy, format painter, those are the commands. The commands are also put together, related commands are put together, we come to form a group. So this is the clipboard group. Then all these, the clipboard group, together with the fonts group, the alignments group, number group, styles, cells, editing, they all come together to form the home tab. Then there is the dialog box launcher, which we can use to open up a dialog box with more commands for us. Then there is a formula bar, where we input the formulas that we are going to be working with, or in fact anything at all you type into the cell will appear here. Then we have rows and columns. I mentioned that the columns go vertically whilst the rows go horizontally. So the columns are labeled with alphabet and the rows are labeled with numbers. Where a column and a row meets, we call it a cell. And the rows, we have up to 1,048,576 rows, whilst we have 16,384 columns. So the question that you may have is that If you are representing this with A, B, C, D, the alphabet, and there are only 26 of them, how then are we going to get this 16,384 columns? And that's a valid question to ask. What happens in Excel is that when you end at the Z, you are going to start over from AA, AB, AC to the end, then you start again. So that is how come we are able to get 16,384 columns per sheet. So don't forget that it is for each sheet that you open that we have these these numbers of columns and rows. The status bar, I said, will also give us information about the current sheets, or even sometimes the current workbook that you are working on. So get to know that anytime I say sheet, I'm referring to worksheet. If I say book, I'm referring to workbook, and a workbook is just a collection of worksheets. The view buttons, we have 3 of them. We have the normal view, we have page layout view, we have page break preview, and these ones will show us different views. The normal view is what you saw, and the page layout view is what you preview that to see how your sheet is going to print. So when you're about to print it, how is it going to be printed out? Then the page break preview also gives you an idea where your sheet is going to break. You realize that the spreadsheet is continuous, but however, if you are going to print it, you won't get the size of a paper to be that continuous for 1,000,000 and something cells to be captured there. For that matter, 1,000,000 and something rows to be captured there. For that matter, there is definitely going to be breaks, and the page break preview shows you exactly where your page is breaking in. Then the zoom controls, as I mentioned, allows you to zoom in and zoom out. So you can use this slider and you can use the plus and minus. Let's quickly open up this and demonstrate what we have learned. This is the quick access toolbar. In fact, you can customize it by clicking on this drop down and adding more. So if you want to add any of them, let's say open, and I've added this. This is the title bar, book 1. If I rename this particular workbook, it's going to change along the line. We are going to rename it for you to see. And these are the tabs that I talked about. So these are tabs. On the ribbon, we have groups of commands grouped into what we call tabs. Then we have the groups. So clipboard group, fonts group. The group is also made up of a number of commands, just as we have here to the tables group is made up of pivot table command, recommended pivot table command, and the likes. Then when you come here, this is the sheet area, and I told you that where a column, so this is the column D, and this is the row, so these are rows. Where a column and a row meets, it is called a cell. So where I'm standing right now, after clicking into it, you realize that column C is highlighted, whilst row 3 is also highlighted. So the identity for this particular cell is C3, and this is where you find the identity of the cell, C3. Then over here, I said that is the formula bar, and anything you type in here will show up in the formula bar, and it will help us use formulas in whilst analyzing or working on our data. The status bar is down here. The view buttons. This is a page layout view, and I said that it shows you how your work is going to print out. Then this is the page break view. We don't have any work in there, so you can't really visualize it. We will look at it later. Then these are the zoom controls, as I mentioned. It enables you to zoom in and out. You can use this slider, its own slider, or use the plus and minus. Then I talked about this slider here that will help you either go left or right or up and down for the vertical slider. So that is the introduction to the interface of Microsoft Excel, and hopefully you have caught up with the interface and the parts. And this lesson was important because it introduced you to the part, so that in subsequent lessons you know exactly what I mean when I say something. All right, so I'll see you in the next lesson.